The Diplomatic Perspective. The Diplomatic Perspective with your host, Suleiman Al-Zahifi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of The Diplomatic Perspective with your host, Suleiman Al-Zahifi. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have another amazing guest here in the capital city of Riyadh, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, an ambassador coming all the way from the beautiful country of Mexico. Mexico has a deep, rich culture, history, and amazing people that I'm sure anyone and everyone has met a Mexican national all around the world, whether it be Europe, Far East Asia, the Middle East, or even in the United States. And many interesting things people realize is how deep and enriched culture they are as a family-oriented nation, which is very beautiful. I feel like they're somewhat close to the Arab culture. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have His Excellency, the Mexican Ambassador to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Excellency Mr. Anibal Gomez Toledo. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure. We're very honored to have you here in the studio in the capital city of Riyadh.
Alaikum salam. Thank you very much for this invitation. I am very excited to be part of this program and to share with your audience a little bit of Mexican perspective about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where I've been happily been posted during the past 3 years. Thank you so much.
We're very excited, Your Excellency. First of all, please tell us more about yourself, and you've been here for 3 years. Tell us a little more insights as an introduction for our dear audience, so we understand, Your Excellency, more about you.
Sure, thank you so much. Well, I am a career diplomat. I started my career in the Mexican Foreign Service more than 30 years ago.
Wow.
In the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then I became a career diplomat 2 years later, so 20 years now. I am ambassador. I have the rank of ambassador. I've been posted in several places, but mostly in the U.S., in several cities, in Texas, in Chicago, in Washington, D.C., on consular offices. And then in London, where I served as head consul and then as deputy head of mission. From there, in 2019, they appointed me, the Mexican government, the president of Mexico, appointed me as ambassador of Mexico to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, happily. And I arrived to the kingdom on November 2019, so 3 years now. And well, I'm here learning a lot about this region, about this beautiful country, about Saudis who are incredible, very warm people, very family oriented, very happy people also, and learn about the great potential there is between our countries. So this is basically what I have to say about my landing here in Saudi Arabia.
Seems like a very interesting and enrichful moments you had here in Saudi Arabia for traveling the world, the States, and now in the Middle East. Was it the first post of the Middle East for you in Saudi Arabia?
Yes, this is my first post in the region in Saudi Arabia, and well, I'm lucky to have been posted as ambassador in Saudi Arabia as my first post in the Middle East. Most of the time, Mexico tried to pick senior diplomats. Well, I am
30 years.
I am privileged to be posted in this country. As I said, 30 years working for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And well, when I started my career back in 1992 in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I never thought that I was be ending in such a beautiful country like yours. But I have to tell you something very personal. When I started to attend a school, elementary school, the name of my elementary school, you don't know which was the name of my
Where was it at?
School. Saudi Arabia.
Wait, you grew up in Saudi Arabia?
No, no, no. I grew up in Mexico City.
Okay.
But the name of the school, the elementary school that I attended in Mexico City, was the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Elementary School. That is a coincidence.
Indeed. So there was an international school there.
No, it was a school part of our public system in Mexico.
Okay.
But in that area of Mexico City where I was living when I was little, I was 6 years old. I was raised in this neighborhood in Mexico City. In that neighborhood, there were like a chain of several elementary schools around the neighborhood. And one of those schools, the name of one of the school was the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Elementary School.
That is very interesting.
There was another elementary school whose name was Spain Elementary School, China Elementary School.
Okay, I see, yeah.
But the one that I attended from first grade to sixth grade was the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Elementary School.
Would you have ever imagined from elementary to the actual ambassador?
Never. I never thought at that time that I was going to be working here in Saudi Arabia. But
faith has an interesting way of showing itself in the future.
Yes, indeed. And this is something very personal. I think that I never shared or spoken about this small aspect of my private life when I was a child.
Wow. I can imagine how you felt when they told you we're going to send you to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I was like, you send me back to the school? No, we're going to send you to the So
exactly.
I'm sure that hit you.
Exactly.
Like, okay, that's very interesting. So you already knew what Saudi Arabia is from a young age. Obviously.
Yeah, of course. And one of my first homeworks that I had to do when I attended not in the first grade, but maybe in the third grade, one of my homeworks was to draw the Saudi Arabia flag. It was very difficult.
It is. I got a C, or I think like a B minus.
Yeah, but at that time in Mexico, the name of the country was barely known.
True.
And I had to
practice
research and study about Saudi Arabia, because one of my homeworks was to draw the Saudi flag and to do some presentation about the country, etc.
Okay.
So, and my family, they remember that I attended this school. So when I was the announcement that I was going to be posted here, they told me this is something that
it's a beautiful
never,
story.
Imagined, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there any Saudis at that school? No Arabs, nothing.
No, not at all.
It would have been very interesting if there was one Saudi who was like me. I'm from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and the school is still there.
It's still there.
It's still there. I'm planning to visit it in my next trip to Mexico. I'm planning to visit it and
you should share us the pictures. We have to see it and post it on social media.
Of course,
it's a very interesting story. It's, I think, one of the most interesting stories I've seen on this episode on the show, because you never know. It's like life is full of unexpected, beautiful
surprises.
So indeed,
yeah,
that's a very beautiful surprise.
Yeah.
Your Excellency, you've been here for 3 years. You came in 2019. First post in the Middle East, and you came unfortunately right before Corona. So you've seen the challenges happening all around the world and everything, but you've got to experience a good 3 years living here, and about the culture and about learning about the region and the people. Tell us some of your experience here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and some of the highlights that happened during your official post.
Well, it has been a wonderful experience to be working here in this country, and to know a lot of things, and to find out the beauty, the richness of your culture, your country. One of the first highlights that I have to mention is when I attended the formal opening, the inauguration of the Diriyah Gate,
yes,
headed by His Majesty King Salman. It was November 2019, indeed, and I was impacted. I was positively shocked when I saw this historical site. Now it is part of the UNESCO historical sites, and I was very positively impacted. But also, another highlight is the G20. Saudi Arabia organized in 2020 the G20 meetings, and the inauguration, the opening of the forum was in December 2019. I confirmed the capacity of Saudi government to organize such an important event and to get together a lot of dignitaries and world leaders around this forum. And then, unfortunately, the pandemic started,
Yes.
COVID, but also something very positive is the way Saudi managed the pandemic. Um, I have to say, I can say that I was very lucky, my wife and myself, to be here, to be uh, to, to, to have the experience of this pandemic in this country, in contrast with other people, including from my own family, who were in different countries, in different sites, and uh, think there were some very strict rules at the beginning, but
Indeed, yeah.
at the end, the outcome was very positive, and you can see it now. But also, in these 3 years, I have witnessed, I have been part of the resume of high contact levels between our authorities. I see increasing reciprocal interest between our authorities to strengthen our relationship, to explore more opportunities. We have received delegations from Mexico, and Mexico has received delegations from Saudi, top-level delegations in both ways, including our foreign minister, who came last March, and also the Minister of Investment. The Saudi Minister of Investment. He visited Mexico last June, and Minister of Culture visited Mexico last September. So there you go. There are now a lot of exchanges. So this is the highlights that I've seen during three years.
Indeed, and you mentioned very important visits actually, because like Mexico, I'm not sure, ladies and gentlemen, tuning into this episode, but Mexico, because I live in the States, because I know the value and the GDP of Mexico. It's a very strong nation, and it's a very deep-rooted nation with the old history.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I knew for a fact, was surprised with my friends going there. I'm sure, and you told me it's the third largest city in the world.
Mexico City.
Mexico City, and people do not realize that.
In the world, in Mexico City, they realize because
not the world.
20 million people.
20 million.
20 million. Yeah, or more than that, including the metro area. Everything is connected. There are three. In Saudi, there would be 3 governorates together, but in Mexico, there are 3 different states together, connected by Mexico City, and all of that area. Within that area, there are more than 20 million people.
20 million people. That's like I cannot even fathom. Saudi Arabia wants to have Riyadh reach up to 30 million people in the capital city of Riyadh. You reach 20 million, which is a big city. I know friends that were showing me and telling me they were doing business, traveling to Mexico City. They were surprised. They were like, it's so clean, it's very friendly people, lots of activity happening. And it's like, it's quite amazing. So once you hear about Mexico and about the beaches, the people, the culture, small towns, and even Mexico City, this one thing surprised me.
Yeah, something very unique of our capital in Mexico is that it holds the largest number of museums in the world. So there's no other city than Mexico City with more museums.
I think because of the old history it has.
Yes, because of history, but also we are a vibrant culture, vibrant city with artists not only in the past but in the present, modern artists, contemporary art. So we have plenty of museums to visit. You can spend the entire year in Mexico City visiting all the museums, and you will never finish it.
Sounds like my summer plan now.
Yes, of course.
Your Excellency, you know, Mexico City, and of course the country Mexico, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has bilateral cooperation importance, which is an important relationship. You mentioned some of the highlights and some of the things that they are doing together for growth, tourism, business, and many other factors and everything. Tell us. And tell us more about in depth regarding the importance of such relationship.
Of course, well, this year, 2022, marks the 70th anniversary of the bilateral relationship between Mexico and Saudi Arabia. And something very important is that within these 70 years of friendship, there is no single issue between our two countries.
Yes, I know.
So
They told me this information.
everything is very positive, very respectful, but indeed we have to work harder to improve our ties, to strengthen our ties, and to take our relationship to a higher level, a level proper of two of the 20 largest economies in the world. Saudi Arabia and Mexico are part of the G20. There is a lot of room of opportunities to continue growing this relationship.
I can proudly say that not a lot of nations can say there was in 70 years no incident.
Exactly.
70 years. That is 70 years. That's a very long one. It's very amazing recognition for that for both nations.
Exactly. And Mexico currently sees as and understands that this is the moment of Saudi Arabia. And there is a potential to boost our relationship in several sectors: investments, trade, and some other subsectors like fintech, agribusiness, etc. So the opportunities are already there, and we just have to guide them to continue this path of good friendship between Mexico and Saudi Arabia.
Indeed. And Your Excellency, you mentioned that Mexico is indeed a G20 nation, and the summit that was held in Indonesia, Bali, the G20, Saudi Arabia, a member of the G20. And I'm sure many people they hear G20, but G20 means the 20 largest economy in countries around the world. Mexico is been there for many years. Saudi Arabia is growing and developing to be a part of such a community, especially with what's going on in Saudi Arabia, the Vision 2030 initiatives and programs, very ambitious. Nations like that is not easy. Mexico has done so much to continue grow and development. Mexico is a business hub, a tourism hub, and they've done a lot of things in terms of investment internationally, even locally. And people do not realize that because for me, living in the States, I know what the investment in Mexico is. So it's very lucrative. Tell us more about the outcome that Your Excellency, regarding the G20 summit.
Well, G20 is, I think, it is one of the most important international forum where you can discuss several aspects of the global world, from climate change to finance to labor, the environment. So there is a you name number of aspects that you can discuss. And currently, well, there are challenging situations spreading in the world, but I think that since there is a forum where you can discuss, where you can have a dialogue to discuss all of these challenges, there's opportunity to overcome all of the problems that you are facing. Not only in a small region or wide region, but also in the world. It was very positive to see so many leaders, including His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, attending this meeting. From our side, unfortunately, the head of state was unable to attend, but the Minister of Foreign Affairs attended the meeting in Bali, and there were a lot of positive results because I cannot mention all of them, but at least the fact that they were seated and they had the opportunity to exchange points of view from several aspects regarding the same problems and how to find solutions of these problems is very, very positive. We need a sustainable world, and this was one of the points that they discussed in several meetings. I have to mention also that, but in the past, when Saudi Arabia headed the G20 meetings, it was a great opportunity to discuss how to manage the pandemic. So there were in every single meeting, the pandemic was the main topic. In labor aspects, in climate change, in finance, in trade, in health, of course. The pandemic was part of the discussions, and a lot of positive outcomes came out after the discussion. So G20 is the forum where you can find all the leaders of the world discussing these challenging topics.
To be on the same page and move forward as the leaders of
Exactly.
the world. You mentioned also, Your Excellency, that relationship is very strong, and we always have to take it to the next level. What does the future hold and possibilities regarding the bilateral relationship between Mexico and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? 70 years with no incident speaks for itself. 70 years of brotherhood and mutual understanding. This is a remarkable achievement for both nations.
Having that background and having said that, the future holds promising possibilities for the bilateral relationship. I'm sure of it. As I mentioned, 2022 marked the 70th anniversary of the bilateral relationship, and high levels visits on both sides have contributed to the momentum in the relationship. In a matter of just 1 year, our ministers of foreign affairs have met 3 times. This is just a mention. That
A short period, yes.
A short period. And the Saudi Minister of Investment visited Mexico. The Saudi Minister of Culture visited Mexico also, but not only just a visit, but also we signed a memorandum of understanding on cultural cooperation, for instance, which is very important. And this last instrument is added to other 15 bilateral agreements that we have signed in the past. So we have a robust legal bilateral framework, and these recent meetings of high-level meetings, high-level encounters, in addition to this framework of 16 bilateral instruments, are a clear and smooth path to continue working together towards a promising future of the relationship.
Indeed, it's amazing initiatives that's happening with Memorandum of Understanding, 15 previous ones, and we're very excited for more. As members of the G20 and future growth, being on the same page. And this is what remarkable. Till now, I'm amazed. 70 years of no incidents goes to show the mutual respect and understanding from both sides as a neighboring, I will say, friendly countries in the world.
Yeah. And we see new areas of opportunities and collaboration, not only in the traditional areas such as trade and investment, but also we see a lot of opportunities in new sectors, for instance, entertainment, culture,
Mexico is known for that. Mexico is known for sports, entertainment, and it's amazing.
Another point, I don't know if you have heard about this cinema chain company of Mexican origin, Cinepolis.
I've heard of, yes.
Well, Cinepolis, with a co-investment in Saudi Arabia, they are investing around $500 million in the kingdom to open cinemas, and they have started in Dammam, in Jeddah, in Jazan, and hopefully soon in Riyadh. But this cinema chain, Cinepolis, is the largest cinema company in Latin America and the fourth largest in the world. So, and now is here in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
This is entertainment, and in the future, last year, but within COVID restrictions, we organized our first Spanish-speaking film festival in Saudi Arabia with the support of this company. But since there were COVID restrictions, we were unable to invite more people, just less than 50 people. But in the coming months, we are planning to have a bigger event with other Spanish-speaking countries, and we would like to repeat this activity with the support of this company. Hopefully, you can join us.
It seems like an amazing activities going on.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
hopefully the Mexican food is that. That's one thing I miss in the States, the authentic ones.
Inshallah.
Your Excellency, you know, you've been here for 3 years. You know, a lot of things have happened in 3 years. The pandemic, the G20 of 2020, and of course now the G20 in Bali. But a lot of stuff happening, development here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Vision 2030, a very ambitious and eager for the future at a very quick pace. How do you see the recent years' progress that is happening in the kingdom for the 3 years you've been here?
Well, I have seen major transformation in every area of Saudi life. Entertainment options have increased, mega projects also. I am very positive, impressed about these mega projects, but also how Saudi society is moving, is changing, not only because the guidance of your leadership, but also because there is this appetite for culture, for art, for entertainment. Just a few weeks ago in Riyadh Boulevard, you saw people with customs of Halloween, etc. Hopefully, in the future, we can see Mexican customs dancing in Boulevard, in Riyadh Boulevard, celebrating other of our traditions in Mexico. But, the changes that I've seen are very positive. The role of women in the country is very positive. You can see now more women participating in not only the social life but in the working life. I have had the honor to meet distinguished ladies, Saudi ladies, heading institutions, organizations, or they are leading some offices, and they are very well prepared with a very solid academic background and very smart, very clever, very open. So this is something that I didn't, frankly speaking, I didn't expect when I arrived for the first time in Saudi Arabia.
Indeed, a lot of things happen in a very short period of time. Your Excellency, everyone hears Mexico. Everyone knows Mexico, but some individuals don't know much about Mexico. How will you describe Mexico to them? What would you like to say? What should they know? Because let's be honest, Your Excellency, what people see in the movies, they get the wrong impression of Mexico. They get the wrong image of Mexico. But Mexico is a beautiful country, and it's more into it what the movie just portrays.
It is. You are totally right. And as we see Saudi Arabia as a fascinating country, Mexico is also a fascinating country. We have history, culture, ancient civilizations, a vibrant society, But well, let me number some of the main aspects of our
Please.
country. Our location. It's very important to understand that Mexico is not South America. No, it's not in South America. Mexico is in North America. Is part of the three countries in the region of North America, along with the U.S., United States of America, and Canada. But also we have very, very strong links with the rest of the countries in the South, Central America and South America, and that's why we are Latin America. Latin America starts in Mexico. If you see the map from the north, of course. But well, culturally and historically, we belong to Latin America, and also because our language, we are engaged with Latin America. But that helps you to understand that Mexico is a natural bridge between these two great regions in our hemisphere, North America and Latin America. Our geographical position is our main advantage, but also poses several challenges for our country. But second, our democracy. We are a strong democracy, open to trade. Mexico has free trade agreements with around 50 countries in the world. One of the largest chains of free trade agreements in the world. Mexico is a superpower of exporting as a exporting country. And we currently are negotiating other free trade agreements with the United Kingdom, with Ecuador, another Latin American country, but also with Korea. So we are our network of free trade agreements cover not only our hemisphere but also Europe, Asia, and we are trying to cover more regions. So this is a tremendous opportunity for business with Mexico. If you invest in a plant in Mexico, what you can produce from that plant is exportable very easily to US and Canada or other countries in the world. Third, just like Saudis, as I mentioned, we are warm people. We enjoy hosting and receiving guests, international visitors from the world. And actually, Mexico is one of the top 7 countries that receives international visitors. During the pandemic, we didn't close our borders. That had another implication, but we during the COVID, we were the second most visited country in the world. So, and now we are keeping that's trending. So we have consolidated our tourism industry during the past decade, and you are keen to visit Mexico,
of course,
as I heard. But well, hopefully you can visit it soon, and you can confirm that our hospitality is our key change.
I already can confirm that even without visiting Mexico. You know, all the Mexican individuals I meet around the world, they're very hospitable, they're very funny, and they have an amazing sense of humor. And they're very hard workers. I sometimes I have a hard time keeping up with their hard work.
Yes. Yes, you're right. But well, last not least, and just like Saudis, we are passionate about football. We have football and food, both.
I think they go hand in hand.
Yes, of course.
But yes, Your Excellency, you know, Mexico is like a lot of times, like, you know, you have to visit the country, you have to do research, and it always helps to learn Spanish before going to Mexico, some keywords, phrases, because I remember I learned Spanish many years ago in the United States for 1 year. I was pretty good. I just didn't practice it, unfortunately, so I forgot a lot of it. But they told me it's like it's a very beautiful language. It's not hard, it's not easy, and it's very, how do I say, very descriptive. Someone mentioned it, as my professor said. He was like, Spanish is considered the language of love. And that's why a lot of the beautiful songs that you hear in Spanish, people don't understand it. It's portrayed in descriptive ways, in a beautiful way, as poetry also.
Well, thank you so much. Actually, Mexico is the largest Spanish-speaking country in the world.
Okay.
Of course, the origin of this language is Spain, the Iberian Peninsula. But the second largest Spanish country, speaking Spanish country in the world, is the U.S., where you were living.
Yes, the majority of them,
Of
especially
course.
Texas, California, Arizona.
Of course, and well, in the USA, there is a population of almost or around 40 million people of Mexican origin.
Yes, people are not aware of that.
Including second and third generations. Around 12 million Mexicans who are in the U.S. Were born in Mexico. So that's why Spanish is so common in the USA. But well, after Mexico and USA, there are other countries, of course, very important countries, Spanish-speaking countries. But I invite our Saudi audience to explore about the Spanish in Mexico. There are some members of your community, Saudi community here in Saudi, who speaks Spanish. They learned the language in Spain or other countries, but we invite them to get in contact with them and to connect with us. We would love to host you in some of our future events, and maybe we can conduct them in Spanish, so you can taste a little bit of it. Actually, Spanish is also a language that has a lot of influence from Arabic language.
Over 4,000 words, Spanish and Arabic. Pantalon, bicicleta, mesa.
Exacto. Well, exactly. But for instance, one very popular word in Spanish is ojalá, which means inshallah.
Ojalá.
Ojalá comes from inshallah.
Okay.
And there are so many words.
So I'm gonna start responding that to my messages. Ojalá.
Ojalá.
I get to start learning more.
Exactly.
Indeed. And Your Excellency, Mexico is a very beautiful country, and it's in movie theaters and everywhere around the world. And people, like you mentioned, they visit. It's second most visited country, even during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And this is for a reason, They were very welcoming, very hospitable, and the food is amazing. Home cooked meals there, something. I feel like if they ask me what's the best food that you can eat, I will say that one for sure. I remember it's very beautiful and very delicious. As a country, G20 nation, Your Excellency, Mexico is a tourist region, as we just discussed, yet it's very strong in regards to economics. Tell us more, and how is it did? We know that they do a lot of exports. They know they have huge regions of free trade and everything. But what other factors should our listeners know?
Well, Mexico is one of the most visited countries, as I mentioned. Our touristic sector has recovered very well, almost to pre-pandemic levels. For instance, in terms of economic, the tourism sector will account for 14.7% of Mexico's total GDP. Our GDP is around $2 trillion.
Wow.
$2 trillion. And also, well, we have our manufacturing sector is one of the strongest in the world. We export a lot of manufactured products. People generally think that Mexico produces food and meat and grains and vegetables. Indeed, we do. But we are an exporter of manufacturing products mainly.
True.
But also we have the potential to produce and to export food products, and that's why we are we are having some discussions with Saudi Arabia in terms of agribusiness. But well, hopefully we can bring more Mexican products in the future. We are also discussing with Saudi Arabia how to improve our connectivity. We need to connect better our countries to bring more, to increase our exchanges for trade and food products also. And then tourists, hopefully, ojalá, inshallah. But well, just to return to tourism sector, in the first 9 months of 2022, just in the first 9 months, more than 15 million tourists arrived in Mexico by air, and this represents 60.2% compared to the same period in the previous year. And this reflects the importance of the tourism industry in our economy. It's also very important. The remittances, which is another factor, another figure very important. We received more than $40 billion from the U.S. If I'm not wrong, this was the last year. That shows you the huge presence of Mexicans in the U.S. and the remittances coming from the U.S. to Mexico. That these remittances go directly to the families of those Mexicans working in the USA. So our economy has several assets, not only the exports, not only tourism, not only remittances, but also oil sector. We are an oil producer. We are part of the OPEC plus group, and this is another channel of dialogue between our two countries, Mexico and Saudi Arabia. We are oil producers, oil exporters. So to see, this is our general map, I would say, of what we have in Mexico, apart from our culture, our history that we have discussed in the previous minutes. But well, there is a huge potential in conclusion to exchange with a huge potential between our countries, and to exchange good practices, and to exchange and to increase our exchanges, and well, to continue paving our future together.
Indeed, we're very excited. A lot of projects in the pipeline and amazing future, inshallah. Your Excellency, on a more personal note, tell us any interesting experiences, locations, or sites you visited in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and how was it? What was a favorite or interesting story you would like to share?
Well, I traveled to some interesting places in the kingdom. I have been in Alula, in Al Qasim, also Dammam, Al Khobar, Jeddah, near here Riyadh, Ushayher, and well, all of those places are beautiful. I cannot say just one experience, but just to mention a few. Sandstorms. The first time I witnessed a sandstorm was here in the kingdom. It was a different experience, but at the end, positive, because well, it's something that I never seen in my life. And one of the first sandstorms that I was in, it took place in Alula. In front of this auditorium of mirrors in the middle of the desert. So what I only was able to see was sand and the mirrors and sand in the mirrors and mirrors in the sand. So it was like a crazy but very nice experience.
You were inside the building or outside?
I was outside the building. First I was outside the building, but when I went in, the interior was also full of sand. But it was fun to be in contact with the desert, with the nature, with camels. I got a ride in a camel. So
how was it?
at the beginning, like weird, I was almost jumping out of the camel.
It's hard to find the balance. You
yes,
notice
yes, yes.
that? Yeah.
And also I attended the Falcon Festival, the race Falcon Festival, and well, seeing the stars from during the night in the desert is something incredible. Something funny that I experienced when I arrived here is someone was offering me Arabic coffee, and the first cup I didn't know what to do, so I tried to return my cup, and the gentleman poured more coffee, and I finished it, and I tried to return it, and he poured more coffee, and it was like 5 or 6 cup of Arabic coffee, because I didn't know how to say no more. And someone told me, no, you have
Just
to shake it.
yeah.
And well, finally I did it, but it was good, and I love it, by the way.
Free refills.
Yeah,
Never-ending
exactly.
supply.
Exactly.
You mentioned that you rode a camel. Have you ever? I always ask individuals coming to the kingdom for the first time, have you tried camel milk?
Yes, I did.
How was it?
Well, I don't like milk,
You don't like milk?
neither cow milk. But well, I tried, but I did it along with my children. We went
Okay.
to a farm. They are old. My children, they are graduate, and they came to visit me during the winter, and we went to a farm in Al Qasim, and we tried the camel milk, and they love it because they like milk. I don't, personally speaking, I don't like milk, but they love it.
Okay, it seems like your kids had more fun at the farm.
Yes.
Have you ever traveled to any other cities because right now I've seen many individuals telling me they've been to Abha. They were surprised by the mountains. Have you been to that region?
Is my next trip.
Sounds like a plan.
Yes, it is. It is.
I've always heard from people, they say what they expect and what they see is two different things. Because
Yeah.
when you come to Saudi Arabia, you expect camels, oil, and sand.
No, and I am preparing my trip by car because I want to drive by myself.
You want to drive all the way there?
Yes.
That's going to be an adventure.
Yes, because yes, I have received several offers to go to the south, but by plane, and I want to drive. Unfortunately, I haven't find
A good time.
the time, because I need to spend at least 1 week at least, or two. So, but this is my plan, to go and drive it by myself.
It's amazing when I see a lot of individuals outside the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia explore Saudi Arabia more than the Saudis. I've noticed that, and it's like the adventures and stories and everything. It started inspiring the younger generation, instead of just traveling outside or anything. See within, see it from the beauty of new eyes. Because you came to the kingdom for the first time, going to different regions. You see it from the first time. They live here, so they feel like, okay, we know about it. We don't go to it. But I'm very glad that you're very ambitious in actually not just traveling by plane, by traveling by car.
Exactly. Actually, I like to travel to the eastern region by car. I have done by myself, because I like to drive, and the roads here in Saudi are very safe. The infrastructure is impressed, and hopefully I will tell you when I prepare my next trip to Abha and to that region. Well, very happy to be here in the kingdom.
We're very excited. Any message or anything you would like to say? Because I feel like you're an ambassador from Mexico, coming to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Any message you would like to say to the Saudi people regarding Mexico to go visit, or the Mexican people to come visit Saudi Arabia? Because I feel like that we always forget to mention that.
Of course, well, first of all, this is a very interesting time. We are almost already within the FIFA World Cup,
Yes.
and Mexico and Saudi Arabia are part of the same group. And
We're playing against each other.
exactly
Any prediction? How is it going to go?
that we are gonna move together to the next stage of the tournament.
We're just happy to be there.
That is my my wishing. I wish all the best to the Saudi national team. It is a very solid team. You have participated in the last in 6 out of the last 8 World Cups. You have very good players, very good infrastructure. You have grown a lot in this sport, and Mexico has a long tradition in football. We have participated in around 17 World Cups. It's gonna be a moment of festivity to face each other.
Moments of joy, yes.
Yes, we are going to enjoy it very much, and I wish you the best. This is something that I wanted to mention, but also to invite all Saudis to explore more of Mexico, not only through movies or series. There are, of course, there are books, there are literature. There is literature. I invite you to see not only the main series that you can see in Netflix. We are not like that, but there are another series that you will love. Even you can see them in Netflix. A specific one, if you are a food lover, its name is Taco Chronicles.
Taco
Chronicles. It is in Netflix. It is a series of 10 chapters, I think, or 10 episodes, and you will know more about our food, about our places, about our regional dishes, about our people, how we laugh, how we are part of a nice environment, and our coexistence in our country. And I would like to see more Mexicans visiting Saudi Arabia. I encourage most of the time to my nationals to visit Saudi Arabia, not only for business, for working purposes, to establish a company or to invest, or for trade, business, but also for know about this place. Distance is not excuse. It's not an excuse at all. There are Mexicans everywhere. Mexicans are everywhere. They travel to India, China, to Dubai. Why not Saudi Arabia? So I'm encouraging them to come, and that's why we are discussing with Saudi Arabia the possibility to establish a better air connectivity between our countries, so we can know better each other. Our culture is very rich. I invite you to read about the history of Mexico, our ancient civilizations. We are a mixture of people who already was living in Mexico before Spanish arrived to Mexico, but now we are a mixture of that time, more than 200 years ago, 300 years ago. And well, this is what we are now, Mexicans, and we look alike with Saudis. I mean,
this is what a lot of my Saudi friends, they say they go to Europe or to the U.S. They're like, you guys look very similar. I was like, yes, practically the same culture, same mentality, very family oriented. Exactly. And deep rooted. So people do not realize, they forget that.
Yeah, I'm sure that when you were in the U.S. several times, some people try to speak to you,
99%
try
of the
to
time.
speak with you in Spanish.
Yes. So my friends and nickname being there, Carlos.
Carlos.
So yeah, so it's very true, Your Excellency, definitely thank you so much. It was an absolute honor, a privilege, and we're very excited to see the future. As 70 years has definitely been an amazing achievement. We're very proud of that from both nations, from the Saudi people, and we're very excited for the next 70 years and many more years to come.
Of course.
We wish both countries a beautiful game. We're very excited for both of us. We know Mexico are very I will say very ambitious and very good at what they do. So this is a giving. So we're just happy to be there. So we're very excited for that, and we're very excited for what the future holds. One thing very excited also is the when you mentioned the import. The Mexico is going to start exporting and bringing imports to Saudi Arabia. This is a very that will kind of engage more with the culture and the food,
Of
and for
course.
them to look into more about Mexico and future as Saudi business people also. But
Yeah.
definitely thank you so much. Any final words or message you would like to say before we conclude today's interview?
Well, go to Riyadh Season. Riyadh Season will have now a Mexican episode. So it is in the program.
It's in the books.
So it is already there. Go to know more about Mexico, and we are open in the embassy. If someone has to get in contact with us, please, we are open to share our views and to share more information about Mexico, and you gotta visit it.
Hopefully, you guys post the details on the Twitter website of the Mexican embassy. We're very excited for that.
For sure.
Very excited. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, the Mexican ambassador to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Anibal Gomez Toledo, joining us here for the Diplomatic Perspective with your host, Salman Al-Zahafi. What a very fruitful and enriching conversation about both nations. And just to highlight, 70 years of zero incidents definitely speaks for itself. 7 years of prosperity, development, and we're very excited for the next 70 years. Till further episodes of the Diplomatic Perspective with your host, Salman Al-Zahafi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The Diplomatic Perspective. The Diplomatic Perspective with